Hey, bubbling, coming in, crushing this art. You already know. So today I'm here speaking about my understanding of sort of the metaphysics behind the human expression of yang and yin in mind and body, right? And I brought up yang and yin in that mind, getting into it, right? Mind as an expression of yang being singular, right? And sort of defining our particular point, where even when we look into body is this nexus of different organisms functioning mechanically to produce a cohesive organism, right? And it's very, it is one, right? But it's sort of taking the shape under our mind, right? In that the body starts to follow our mind. So what does that look like then? Well, there is the natural source of the omega of space, right? Rather than the alpha, the point, right? This source of space is the power in which everything draws from, right? We could call it life force, right? But what we can see the yin principle of the omega life force present on Earth in the water cycle, and we can start to get to know a little bit more about its power and how power can invigorate, right? But power can also destroy, and why is that, right? Well, there are some things that work with the greater nature in harmony. So this is a little bit of a tangent. Some things work with the greater nature in harmony, right? Such that when they are empowered, that sort of just boosts them up to bloom and sort of just spin faster in whatever cycles they're engaged in, right? But there are also things with misbalance, right? And we can find this particularly like someone that wins the lotto, right? And their life goes to hell, right? It's because there wasn't the foundation, right? To sort of drive this around a center to keep this balanced, so that complete influx of energy now just broke through, right? And let a specific couple or one drive sort of lead the bunch in a really dysfunctional manner, right? In an imbalanced manner. And so we can see that in just as much as healing coming through us and sort of healing something, they'll invigorate what is pure, but it will also sort of create little stills and little pockets in what's toxic, because it will be either dysfunctional and it will take too much in a specific area, or it will give too much, right? So either the energy will either be immediately expounded and there will be nothing to hold it, right? Or, and such you won't gain anything, right? Or the energy will be completely taken in, right, and not given back at all, to where it will create a cancer, right? And now when that water comes in, it will sort of act as pressure that will accelerate like something like a heart attack, because now the way in which your body is naturally functioning is producing plaque. It's not that this is a byproduct, right? It's that something in which we are doing is producing that. So if we just speed up everything that we have and are intaking, then even that dysfunction is going to be brought to the forefront. Water just speeds up, right? It doesn't just speed up health, right? And so I guess we can see that into just how the rain cycle brings down what is dead, right? And it invigorates what is strong, right? If you're not strong and able to withstand the winds, right, and the water, then you're also not able to reap the benefits of its refreshing nature, right? So this goes a little bit into then yang and yin, and sort of how we specifically are utilizing these forces, right? So we're utilizing yang with the mind and the central creative force, in which can choose how to bend, right, that water, right? It's the artistic force, right? And so when we're thinking about that, right, we see our specific expression in our mind, right? But what we know is that our mind is sort of this spiritual, as opposed to natural, right? And we can see that in our ability to delude ourselves and sort of take on a martyr aspect of me versus the world, right? Of separation, right? So we see this artistic ability able to literally delude itself and create those dysfunctional whirlpools where it has to stop and it's no longer empowered and it dies, right? But that shows us we're able to go against the grain, right? And that sort of will is and that yang principle isn't always necessarily true, right? It's just more so looking for what's right, which is the artistic component, right? Rather than the real or the empowered or the great component of yin, right? So when we're thinking about this, then what our mind does, right, is we're working through the body, right? We're no longer spiritual or of the heavens. Our mind is hopefully clear, right, and sort of thoughts and of heavenly things, but we're working through truth and nature, right? So we can view it sort of how I like to view it, right, is we have sort of like the yang, right, but it's bent through and it works through, it descends, right, and we go through the body and natural processes and natural law in order to express ourselves again, right? And it's a rhythm, right? Where here is my natural creative ability, want, drive, and potential, right? And here is my desire, right? And then here is my fall into mind and into reality to notice all the things in which I have to do and what is actually possible and what this dream would actually look like, right? And then here is my use of the nature of me finally getting through those depths, learning what I need to learn in order to guide nature, in order to accelerate me towards my means, to where it's not even, I couldn't just create my means because I have to guide nature, right? And my dream is artistic because we're always searching for the new, so we don't know quite how to get there because we have to learn new things in order to create something new, right? We have to guide new properties, or else we would be able just to do it as an ability, in which case we would just be resonating on this level, but what would we still want? More, right? So we're always working through nature, right, in order to gain more reason, right? Which the reason would be, now that I've fought and figure out everything I need to do in order to get my mission, now I can do it. But it's like, I don't just dream of my mission, right? Now I actually see my dream embodied in all my abilities that create that. So now it's a reason, in that we're utilizing the C, in order to power our craft or our dream, right? And that's how sometimes we learn that dreams may be completely dysfunctional, and unless we want to be completely at odds with nature, you know, that's how sort of on the path to our dreams we see them shift slightly to the left or the right, you know, to where it still has the same essence, but we sort of learn more about its actual function, right? And that's us and our mind diving down, right, going through the depths and reascending and figuring out how to create that vision, right, through nature, right, to where now we're utilizing reason, right? So, but that's sort of how mind works, and that's the interesting thing about mind, is we're still sort of looking up, even though mind is bent down by us having to work through nature, right? So that's interesting. But then the other point is that would be the mind side, but what about the natural omega, right? So we have the omega, right, which is drawn through the actual spirit, right? As the spirit goes down, the omega comes up, right, and they meet, right? And this is the actual self, right, or the actual earth or the crystal, because we have just the omega, which is the earth force, right? But then it starts to learn and take the shape of the actual specific being or image that is trying to work, right? And this is when the spiritual artistic force starts to guide the omega or the space, right? And it sort of either develops, right, a pocket that is like I said, instilling, right, and creates a weight, or to giving, right, and it creates you know, a lack of substance, right, or it creates that balance, right? But this is where we just draw from the greater natures, right, through, like in human being, right, we at first draw from our mother, right, who just basically distills everything, right? But later we draw from water, food, and air, right? And we combine those three, right? And then those start to take the shape of our being, right? And then when we start to actually, when nature starts to use us, right? Because like I said, we have that chance where we can utilize in the creation, where we can utilize the artistic ability and the guiding of power for something that's either delusional or unreal, right? And I'm kind of differentiating delusional with selfishness and unreal with selflessness. And, you know, we can either do one of those to where it doesn't actually manifest, right? But then if we get to the point where it's in tune with the greater nature, now the Omega is able to work through us in order for us to then be another expression. And because we're responsible and self-affirmed in that our responsibilities grant us the key to success, because now we're just, our dreams are in alignment with nature, right? We're a natural walking garden, right? So we just have stuff to offer, to give, and be a part of the greater, right? And now we're a producer, right? Just from the greater environment, from the prima materia. So now we're just straight up an alchemist, right? This is when, you know, the nature develops its crystal, right? Instead of just being the unpure Omega, right? Or just like we were that unpure vision, right? Now we've developed a sort of reason, right, and a way to guide nature, and nature has developed an actual vehicle in which just fluidly allows it to express itself in a more particularized light, right? Now we added another aspect to the rainbow, right? Versus the Omega just being its undifferentiated self. So it's that synergistic relationship. So,